Hello friends, and welcome to the commentary track of Return to Hauna. I'm Dan Philgreen, and I shot this video and did the editing on it as well. So I'm just here to chat with you a little bit during this special track and tell you a little bit about some behind the scenes of the making of the video. This was one of the first videos that I did using the new DV format. Previously we had to carry around much larger cameras and bigger crews, and this time I was able to go completely by myself because the camera was very small. I had a little bit of a small lighting kit that I could haul around in this helicopter, from which I was making this particular shot here using a Steadicam. Talk a little bit about Steadicam in this whole thing. And yeah, I got to meet up with Marilyn Laszlo again on this one, and we were trying to figure out exactly what this particular video should be. Marilyn had been out of the village a while and speaking, traveling around, telling a lot of stories about things that had happened during the whole translation project of the Sepik Iwam New Testament. And she wanted to go back into the village and kind of do a recap. So we decided that maybe what she should do is tell a lot of these stories that she'd been telling in her meetings, and we would walk around the village and have her tell them in the places where they happened. So that's what we did. Now, it took a little bit of convincing to get Marilyn to do this this way. She wasn't real keen on being on camera telling these stories, but I convinced her to do a little test out here on the bridge one evening, and after we looked at it, she thought, well, yeah, maybe this could work. So she was convinced, and we proceeded to shoot it this way. We did do this bridge introduction several times, several different days we tried it until she was happy with it. But a number of the other pieces we did, she did in one take, so that was interesting when it came together perfectly on the first take. Flying around New Guinea was really interesting. I enjoy airplanes quite a lot, so I really enjoyed the flying. We did some air-to-air footage at the JAR Center after I had spent time in the village. That's where we got these air-to-air shots. This was actually on my way into the village, coming into Ambunti. Yeah, we stopped in Ambunti to drop some people off, and I was sitting in the back seat shooting with a Steadicam and the little VX1000 camera here. The Steadicam is a stabilization device. There's some things in the slideshow on this DVD that tell about it a little more, but it's quite a fabulous little thing that allows the camera to be moved around quite a bit without the normal bouncing and shaking that you get with a handheld camera. So the camera work in this video, it's moving all the time, and I could actually stand on this kind of shaky bridge here and keep the camera moving, as you see, and it still could look quite smooth. I met Marilyn back in January of 1981 when my wife, my new bride of 3 months, and I went over to make the film Come By Here, and that's when we met Marilyn in the village. When she met us, she had it was an airstrip just a bit up from the village where we went in, and she met us in the canoes with some of the guys, and she had 2 thermoses, one with lemonade in it and one with hot coffee in it, and she said she liked to drink hot coffee when it's hot because it somehow made her feel cooler because the coffee is hot. Anyway, she figured we wouldn't buy that, and so she brought lemonade, which was real nice. So here's some more you can see what the little Steadicam lets us do. Getting smooth shots. This is sitting inside the helicopter. This is actually walking along with Marilyn. The Steadicam isolates the angular movement, the up and down and side to side. from the camera, and you just get lateral movement or vertical movement. And I had just gotten this thing before making this trip to do this video. So this is the first time I had used it, and my technique wasn't quite polished here. There's a few, you can see some jiggles and so forth, but overall it really helped the feel of this whole thing. The water was really low while we were there. You can see in an area like this, the houses are on these Quila wood posts, which the ironwood that's so heavy it won't float, and during the rainy season that water will come right up to the bottom of right under the floors, sometimes even above the floors of the houses. But it was really, really low during this time, and it made it a lot easier for us to do our shooting because we had places to walk. Back in '81, when it was a bit wetter, I was shooting with the Bolex Reflex 16mm film camera on motion picture stock, and it was driven by a spring motor, had to be wound up with a crank, and you'd wind the thing up and then it would run for 30 seconds or maybe a minute, and then it'd run out of spring and you'd have to wind it up again. And the 100-foot spools would last about 3 minutes or so through the camera. So everything was shot in very short bursts, just short pieces. And of course with the video, I was shooting on the digital video stock, and you get an hour per tape, and of course it's driven by a battery, and we could do these long stories without Marilyn having to be interrupted. So it was quite a different feel with this different technology. I did take along a couple of batteries, larger batteries, 7.5 amp-hour lead acid batteries. They're kind of like a small motorcycle battery kind of thing, although not sloshy liquid. They were kind of damp liquid inside. But anyway, they would pull about 4 hours or so worth of tape through the camera on one charge, unlike the little ones that come with the cameras. Everybody knows they don't last very long. So I took 2 of them over because I knew they were running the generator generally in the daytime, and they didn't run it at night. They ran it to the evening a while and then shut it off. So I would be charging one battery during the day while I was shooting with the other one, and then the next day I'd switch off. But I was able to get everything I needed on one battery per day. It's a little bit heavier, and you have to have a cable going to the battery and a power supply that drops the voltage down and so forth. So it's a little bit more involved, but you don't have to worry about running out of battery. So that was a really big thing. I also used a wide-angle conversion lens. It's a 0.5x that doubled the field of view in wide angle. And this was really great because I could see so much of the village in the background all the time. Everywhere you look in Hauna Village, it's a great-looking picture. So with the wide angle, I was able to take in a wider field of view and see more of the backdrop of the village. That's one of the reasons I kept moving a lot, to move around Maryland and try to show a lot of the backdrop of the tableau of village life going on back there. One of the limitations I had was our budget was really, really tight on this thing, and I didn't even have a proper microphone. We were planning originally to do this piece the way we did Come By Here, which was Marilyn did everything by narrating it off camera, and I was actually there when we decided to do all this stuff on camera, and I did not have a proper microphone, so I had to use the camera microphone, which is really anathema. You're not supposed to do that. It's really not the way you're supposed to do it, because you rarely can get good dialogue with the camera microphone. But using the wide-angle lens and working real close to her, it worked. One of the things that helped me was we didn't have a lot of mechanized sounds. We didn't have to worry about traffic noise, and there was rarely an airplane unless it was our airplane. So it was very quiet in terms of just noise. We had a lot of village sounds, of course, and kids yelling and dogs barking and people banging on sago and stuff like that. But that just added to the thing, and that made it really work nicely. So um, the and the Sony VX1000 has a 4-capsule stereo microphone on the camera, so for ambience it's really quite nice. And if you listen to the track on a good stereo system, you find, even though this isn't a surround track, we're not quite that sophisticated here, but the stereo that is there is actually the sound that was going on while Marilyn was talking, and it really sounds wonderful. It has a lot of depth to it, and there's a few places I did a little sound effects work, but mostly it's just what was happening. There's one place on the bridge where a dog is barking like crazy, and we just left it in because it gives you a taste of what it's like there in Hauna Village. While I'm talking about the soundtrack, I'll mention the music. Had two main sources. We shot the string bands one evening while I was there in the village. The bunch of string bands played. Each clan has a string band, and they play guitars and beat on the bamboo instruments that you saw at the beginning of the video, banging it with a flip-flop. Really interesting sound, and each clan has one of these groups, and it's really wonderful to hear them. And so I recorded a bunch of that, and that's what's at the beginning of the film. But down into it, this music that you hear during the body of the video is from a stage production called Dayuma, and this was a production. It was a wonderful. It was drama, and it was a play. It was kind of there was dance and music. Just hard to kind of describe it. A wonderful production that Wycliffe commissioned, and it toured for a while. And Marilyn traveled with the group, and they had a wonderful original score for that production of Dayuma. And the folks that were involved with that gave us permission to use that music in this piece, and it was really is very nice. I really was happy with the way it worked. Part of the story, Marilyn's talking about foods. In fact, these shots right here were from Come By Here. We didn't put them in because this sequence was deemed to be a little too disgusting, showing her eating grubs. But actually, we do have grub eating on this DVD. You have to look for it, but if you haven't found it yet, just give you a little hint. It's on here. If you dig around, you'll find it. Well, this scene, we were in quite a bit of pressure to get it done. We were fighting the sun going down. It was getting late, and we thought we'd try to get one more thing in. So we did this in just a couple of takes. And where we're standing here, you can kind of get a little glimpse of the mud. We're standing in mud about up to our ankles here. So I was trying to move around here, and at one point she talks about the wind changing direction, and I tried to do this move around her to show the direction from which the wind was coming. And I came real close several times to just falling over and falling into the mud with my camera and everything, so that wouldn't have been much fun. But managed not to fall down, but it was quite nasty shooting this because it was just mucking around in mud. I'm surprised you couldn't hear the suction of my boots as I was in this mud. Here we go, muck, 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 muck. And the Steadicam kind of quivers a bit, but we made it through the scene. It was in the early 70s when my first partner... Marilyn took a lot of pictures through the years, so I had quite a stash of historical photographs to use to kind of visualize when she's talking about things that happened a long time ago. So that helped an awful lot. This was some footage from the Mountain of Light film, the first film that was shot by David Colvin while I was still in school. And then we did this story about the canoe and the motor running with no gas, and what an amazing story that is. Really one of the most powerful things in this video. And to do this, I thought, well, let's get in a canoe and just paddle along through the village, where the tributaries go right through the village. And I just sat down in the front of a canoe, and these canoes are very, very unstable, not very reassuring at all. I actually could barely fit down into the nose of this canoe, and held the Steadicam out over the water, actually, in some cases here, to do this long interview. It actually was done in one take. We do cut away from it, like in these scenes here, but the whole thing was done in one take. We only did it once, and it's only cut into because we use these still pictures to cut to. It was such a powerful thing. After we got done with it, we could sense the power of this particular story, and just the way it was presented. And I told Marilyn, I said, I don't think we can do this any better than we've just got it in terms of her. Now I have my camera right there, but technically I knew it wasn't quite perfect, but she did it so well, and it was so powerful. I thought we're just going to use this. This is great. So this was it. This was one of those one take pieces here. The very small digital camera and the small Steadicam together made this shot here possible. This would not have been possible before, just sitting in the front of a wobbly canoe like this and being able to get this smooth shot with the camera out over the water like this, kind of a quartering view. So I was really happy with the kind of things we were able to do that weren't possible with the earlier, heavier camera equipment. This gear also allowed me to work a lot faster. We could move from place to place quickly, and we could get a whole lot more shots in a shorter amount of time than I was able to do with the older Betacam gear and 16mm gear that was just heavier and bulkier and harder to move around. So we were able to work very efficiently. Now here it would have been nice to have a reflector or something to get a little more light. We were in the sunshine back at the beginning of this shot, and by this point we're in the shadow of the big mountain where the translation house is. So we're in shadow here, and you can still see sunlight on the trees behind her. So this was kind of a bit of a marginal thing lighting-wise. But again, the story was going so well, and it looked good, and I decided to live with it. Again, with a crew of one person, you can only do so much. So I was happy with it, and no one's complained. I mentioned earlier that I did all of this dialogue using the camera microphone, and the problem that we had with that was there were crickets chirping a lot of the time in the daytime and just all over the place, and often they were just drowning the sound of Marilyn's voice. So I was able to use a digital broad spectrum noise reduction software plugin, and I was able to not eliminate, but to reduce that cricket sound quite a bit using digital noise reduction. It's quite a wonderful thing. That technology hasn't been available all that terribly long, and it was completely out of reach cost-wise until shortly before I did the editing on this piece, and the cost came way down, and I was able to use it. Here's the Steadicam doing its thing again.
Among these people for about 23 years, I realized that God created these people.
Quite a magical thing to be able to get this movement smooth like this, and this was a one pass over that village. I was able to respond on the fly just as we went by. Here's the sago paste that you may have heard Marilyn talk about. This scene right here, we had hiked up to the top of a hill, and she just started talking. We didn't even say we were going to do a shot. I just rolled, and she said this, and it was very spontaneous. and it ended up in the piece.
Once we've figured out the alphabet and the grammatical structure, and we have a real good understanding.
Well, here's where we did the ending. Actually, we shot the ending several times on different days, and Marilyn would look at it and just wasn't happy with the way it was coming together. So this was actually the last, just the last few hours before I left. We did it again and shot this this version of the ending, which really was way better than anything else that we had. She really did a wonderful job on it.
In the beginning was the python. I said no. I said in the beginning was
Working with Marilyn Laszlo has been one of the great privileges of my life. She is such a powerful communicator and has so many wonderful stories to tell, and it's been really tremendous to see God use her life and use her story, all the things that she's been through in her life, to touch so many people and to encourage people and motivate the next generation to get involved with Bible translation, with missions, with reaching the world. And my little contribution to helping her with these videos has just been a wonderful thing. They've been rather difficult to put together. There's someone told me once that the flak is always heaviest when you're right over the target, and we really have had a sense that that God was going to use the first film, the second film actually, the first one I was involved with, Come By Here, and this one. They were both fraught with a lot of problems putting them together, and yet I've kind of learned to realize that's a good thing. When it's too easy, then that means something probably is going to blow off in the wind and not amount to much. But something like this has a great deal of power and a great deal of wide-reaching influence. So great privilege for me to be involved with it, and Marilyn's just been a great person to share the experience with, and a delight to work with.
Well, they were so excited about this creation story.
And there are so many other wonderful stories out there of other missionaries, of things that God is doing around the world that are untold. And it's my great hope that this release of this DVD, with the commentary track that I'm doing now, with the slideshow, some of the behind-the-scenes things, that this will be an encouragement to some young people to get involved with telling missionary stories, with learning video production and going out there and capturing stories and putting them together like Marilyn and I did here with the story of Hauna. The tools for this are so much more accessible these days. There's training available. It's something that you can do. If you're a young person who's seen this video, you might be thinking, I could do this. I would like to do this. I encourage you to look into it. Maybe God's wired you up to do just this kind of thing. I had that kind of experience a few decades ago, and it's been a wonderful, exciting walk to be pursuing, capturing things like this. There's some resources available. I happen to be teaching college now. I'm in my fourth year now of teaching at Columbia International University in South Carolina. Our communications program here has a video minor, and I'm teaching a number of courses in production. There are some other great schools around that have these kinds of courses that can train you. There's a lot of information on the web that you can look into and teach yourself, read a lot. I have a little resource, dpproductions.com, that has a tech tips section, and it tells actually more about making this video and the kinds of techniques that I've used on things like this. So there are certainly many opportunities to get involved with telling these stories, and there are many of them. Unfortunately, so many have gone untold. So I hope that if you're listening to my voice right now, you're a young person wondering what to do with your life, that there'll be a few of you who will decide, I want to do this, and you'll go after it. If I can help you pursue that, I'd like to do that if I'm able.
That's really wrong. And then you shouldn't sleep with
Our
another
communication
man's
program
wife
at my
and
school
adultery.
has a website actually within the university's
And you know what
website.
most important, they said?
It is at
That you should never, ever show disrespect to the
www.ciu.edu/communication,
I said, wow.
and you can
Where did this come
look
from?
at what we
Who
have to
told you
offer
this? How did you
and
know
see
all
some
that?
things about our program.
Our ancestors, they've been passing it down for generation to generation. Oh, my friends.
Okay, well, we're just a few minutes from the end here of our special commentary. Thought I would tell you a little bit about the reason why there's two versions of this video. The 48-minute version actually was the first edit that I did. It was my best shot at putting it together, and then it was decided by various folks that were involved that we really needed it to be 30 minutes. It just seemed like 48 was a bit too long. So the original release was 30 minutes long. But I always kept that 48-minute one around, and now on the DVD, we decided to just go ahead and put both versions on. I thought about doing deleted scenes. There are actually a couple of stories, the medical stories that are on the longer one, that were cut out in their entirety. But also, there's, I don't remember how many, but several of the stories that are in this 30-minute version were cut down somewhat to get it to fit into the 30 minutes. So the 48-minute version has the longer version of some of the stories. At night, out there along the Sepik River, the sounds are just amazing of all the animals and birds and the bugs and critters. One night I was out shooting these sounds, and I got this. You can hear the mosquito flying by the microphone. Isn't that cool? And it's a stereo mic, so it kind of flies from the left to the right, and you hear it move through the sound field. But I love that night sound. Found a place to put it in there. You know, those mosquitoes, they told me that if you go to Papua New Guinea, you're going to get malaria. There's just no way to escape it. And Marilyn has gotten about every disease imaginable over there, sometimes a lot of them at the same time. But somehow I escaped it. Twice going to New Guinea, I didn't get malaria. Now this footage here was provided to us by someone who shot on their home camera at the actual dedication of the Sepik Iwam New Testament. So it was nice to be able to get the whole of that footage, since I couldn't be there for that. You can kind of tell the difference in the video quality. This was some of the stills that Marilyn had that we used.
They just kept rubbing it. They kept rubbing it, and they kept saying,
it's an amazing thing to see people get the Word of God in their own language for the first time. I didn't get to witness that in Hauna, but about a year ago I did get to see that happen in a village in Venezuela. Truly, truly amazing. A wonderful thing to give your life for. And that's what Marilyn has done.
You know, I don't know you.
Here at the end, I just love the way she is very affirming and uplifting, and this video is definitely not about a guilt trip. It's about encouragement.
You're very, very special to God.
Yeah, I love that. You're special to God, and you are. God has something for you to do in the Great Commission to reach the world. So I hope that this DVD will help you figure out what that is and encourage you to run at it with all that you have. So here at the end, we've got all these people. I've spent about 9 years working with Campus Crusade for Christ, and all of these pictures of people around the world are from the vault there, the archives. A few of them I shot at different places, and a few of them were shot by friends of mine that I used to work with there. So we had some wonderful shots there from kids in Russia and China.
In Russia. and Africa,
Great stuff.
Papua New Guinea, the world.
Wonderful people all over the world that need the Lord. And we need to tell their stories, tell what's going on, so folks will get involved in their lives and spread the gospel. That's what this DVD is about. Hope that's what your life's about. Well, thanks for listening to my chat here. God bless you.